Good evening and welcome. This is Whole and Beautiful. I am Angela D. Oliphant, your host, and I am so glad that you have joined me tonight for a night of information, revelation, and change. Guys, tonight is just going to be an awesome show like it always is. We have great shows, and I told you that we will have different people coming on this year, and I have a lot planned for this year. And this is one of those segments. I have tonight couples conversations. And I want to bring in couples and just talk to them about their life as being a married couple, how it is, how they live, what they do to make their marriage work. Because, everybody is different. So, and we can't pattern ourselves after other people. We may be able to get some wisdom from some people, but you still have to tweak it for your marriage and your mate. So that's what I want to share with you all on tonight. So we have a couple that is going to come on tonight. They're going to share a little bit about themselves. They're going to share a little bit about their marriage and how they managed to make it work through the finances and through being together, living in the same home and having different jobs and different hours and all this different stuff that we go through. And we may even touch on a little bit of intimacy. We're going to just talk to them, and we're going to see how things go on tonight. And I want you to give me your feedback. Send me an email at wholebeautiful@gmail.com. Send me that feedback about this show. Let me know if it helped you. Let me know if you learned something. Let me know if you're a couple out there and you want to be on the next couple conversations on Whole and Beautiful. We're going to take a short Selah moment break, and when we come back, I will introduce to you the guests that I have for tonight. So sit back, relax, call a friend, let them know that Whole and Beautiful is on, and we will be right back. Hello and welcome back. This is Whole and Beautiful. I am Angela D. Oliphant, your host, and I am so glad you have joined me tonight. Tonight's show, as I was saying before we went to break, is called Couples Conversations. I am speaking with a couple tonight that is going to share with us a little bit about their marriage, a little bit about themselves, and I am so glad that they have agreed to join me tonight for the first Couples Conversations. And I know that they'll probably be coming back at a later date. But we are going to just talk to them. And if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. If you have any comments, put it in the comment section. And we'll get back with you with the answers to those questions. But right now, I want to introduce to you the guests that I have for tonight. I have tonight Stephen and Sierra Oliphant. Hello, guys. How are y'all? Hey, we're doing good. How are you? I am doing great. I am so glad that y'all joined me tonight. As I was telling the listeners, we're just on here tonight just to share about couples and how they work together, how they manage things. But first, I want each of you to introduce yourself and just say a little bit about yourself and who you are so my listeners will know who I'm speaking with. And first, I would like Sierra to share a little bit about herself, and then JR, well, I said JR, his name is Steven. That's my son, y'all. But you can share a little bit about yourself. So, Sierra, can you go ahead and share?
Sure. So I'm Sierra Oliphant. I am 29 years old. This is about to be year 30 for me. And I work during the day as an administrative assistant and bookkeeper. And I'm also a track and cross country coach and recently got my personal trainer certification. So quite busy. And on top of that, we do have two children, a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old. Zoe is a 5-year-old and Ashton is an 8-year-old. So we've been through many different stages with each of them, on top of managing a busy life. So being mom, coach, personal trainer, and kind of everything in between.
Yes. Stephen, can you go ahead and share a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Stephen Oliphant. I'm currently going through the alternative route to certification to become a social studies teacher, and in the middle school. I'm not sure if you said it, but we've been together for this year will be 11 years, so we've been together for 12 years. Um, like I said, we have two kids, Ashton and Zoe, which are 8 and 5 years old. And
We have 2 cats. I forgot.
oh
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. I have two animals, 2 cats.
She's calling them animals because they're my babies, and they run away from him, but they snuggle up with me. Shazam is our oldest cat. He's 2. He'll be 3 this year. And then Cookie is our youngest. She looks like an Oreo cookie. She's all black with white paws and white stomach. So that makes up our family. And Stephen didn't share.
Two children and 2 cats.
Right. He didn't share that he's in the Alternative Pathways program, but he was recently offered a position in a school district.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yay! And that is awesome. It seems like you all have a lot that is going on. I want you just to share with the listeners and everyone who's listening tonight about how did you all meet? Either one of you can answer that, or you both can chime in. How did you meet?
So I will go. The way we met is we both lived in Columbia at the time. So I probably lived in Columbia about 14 or 15 years at this point. So about half my life. And there was a local, music concert going on. It was a mixture of music and dancing at a location here at Columbia. I was performing, so I also love to dance as well. So I have taught Zumba in the fitness industry as well. But at the time I was dancing, and Stephen was performing rap. And I actually, at the time I was, full disclosure, at the time I was dating somebody, and I ended up seeing him, and I was like, oh man, he's fine. He was tall and chocolate, and and I was like, okay, he's handsome, but like I said, I was in a relationship, so at the time I was just like, okay, well, he's somebody to look at. I turned, went about my business, and we kind of talked here and there the month after, just because we had kind of mutual friends or people that we knew in our circle, I should say. So we still would run into each other with other musical events around. And eventually it got to the point where we decided, you know what, that relationship that I was in, I decided, okay, I'd rather be friends with this individual. And once I did that, I made sure I took care of that first. And once I did that, I said, okay, you know what, this is a relationship that I want to pursue. And he felt the same way. And so 11 years later, married, and then 12 years together. Yeah.
Awesome. That is great. You were saying y'all have been together, both of you were saying, been together 11 years, and I know, like you were saying, y'all have y'all ups, y'all have y'all downs, y'all have different things that you're doing. I admire you both as being that couple, because I see how you work together really well with different aspects of your marriage. Can you talk a little bit about finances in a marriage? Because sometimes in different marriages, people do things different ways. Sometimes people have their own money. I got my own money, you got your own money, and then we have money that we put together. And then some people say, all money needs to be together for the entire household. It's a matter of what works for them, but I have seen you all come together and work really well in that area. So I want you just to share a little bit on how you bring those two maybe different mindsets, or maybe you all think in the same way, but how did you begin to work and build financially?
I think it takes discipline and honesty. So we've never, I think early on, we just started making decisions about we didn't want to live too, quote unquote, extravagantly. And so we just never lived beyond our means. We always just tried to make sure that we had kind of just enough clothes to be able to do what's necessary, just enough, like the food in the house that's necessary. We didn't want to be the type of people that constantly go out and spend, $10 every single day on a cup of coffee when we know that we had debt and, or if we had like credit cards or anything else like that. So I think it just takes a level of honesty and discipline, and if whatever plan you come up with, you stick with it. Everybody has to kind of be on the same page, because if we're saying we're going to save up money to get rid of debt, and then one person is not even fully with that plan, then that can throw everything off. It takes a sacrifice, but you have to have that commitment to that type of sacrifice in order to get where you are. So I think because of the fact that we were disciplined early on, we've been in this house for about 2 years. And so what we originally started was just a small 2-bedroom apartment where I remember we had to sign pieces of sign like legal papers were saying that, hey, look, if you get sick because the lead paint, then like it was that type of environment where it wasn't the worst place to live, but it wasn't the best place to live either. And
right.
I think steadily from there, every place that we've been to just gradually got better and better. And the cars that we had at the time were like, okay, but as time progressed, it got better and better. Because, with time, it's not just about being honest with each other, but also being disciplined. But it's also about like learning, because some of the things that we learned when we first got that little small apartment, and as time progresses, you start figuring out hey, I could have got this apartment. And so then you learn to negotiate, where you can get a better place to live or a better car, or you get better deals when it comes down to like, buying diapers. And so I think that you have to have a commitment to learning with one another, that it can't just be one person doing all the work while the other person just sits down reaping all the benefits.
That is true. Because I have heard a lot in my time, different people saying different things, and I applaud y'all for the way that you are disciplined and the way you are honest and everything, because you have to find that rhythm with that person that you're with, and be able to work together when it comes to finances. Finances is one of the main reasons a lot of times that people are not together. The reason why they separate, or the reason why they get a divorce, finances is one of them, and communication is one also. Can you speak, either one of you, speak about how you communicate in your marriage? How does the communication work? Because sometimes in a marriage you have one person that will express themselves and talk a lot. You have another person that may not express themselves and talk that much. How do y'all work the communication with the both of you?
So, in terms of communication, I think it's funny because Stephen, people see him as more introverted, which to a degree he is, yes, but they think, he doesn't talk that much. I'm like, if you know him, he does talk a lot, and so when you're in a relationship, you see, family will see certain aspects of an individual, like you'll see certain aspects of JR, and that he's one that will talk, and you guys will have great long conversations, but it's even it goes deeper in the surface, even more so because of the fact that you're intimate with this person. You're emotionally intimate, you're sexually intimate, you're,
Right.
all these different things, and you truly give yourself to that person fully, and it's such a level of vulnerability that has to take place in order for you to completely open up to that person, which also filters into now I've made myself vulnerable. Now it's that need to be like, or for me at least, it's that need to be like, I have to communicate this with this person because this is who I love. This is who makes me feel wonderful, even in my worst moments. And so the fact that I can tap into that vulnerability with somebody else and know that he can respond any way if I tell him some ugly thing I might have said or thought or did, I just have to be open to the fact that he's going to love me regardless. And he gives me that safety. He gives me that safety to be like, kind of like a trampoline. It's like I can fall and he's my trampoline. I can feel, he'll help me always bounce back. And so I just love that level of trust that I have. So in communicating with him, it could be about finances and the budget. It could be about, a day I had at work. It could be about my goals and aspirations and how we can make my goals happen together, how we can make his goals happen together. So sometimes it can be, the communication piece can be on a deep level, and it can be like, hey, we have to have a conversation about this struggle we're having with parenting. But it can also be something as simple as, something that's in the regular rigmarole. What are we going to have for dinner? What are we going to, and so sometimes people miss that. People miss that because it's like, that's what happens is that you go on and on and on. Your kids get older, you get older, and before you know it, it's so easy to sit there and look back and be like, what did we accomplish together? How did we get here? How did we get to this place? And it's because you can truly, in the society that we live in, you can truly get so much on the hamster wheel where you're like, where did time go? Like sometimes him and I are like, oh, babe, remember when we used to make this joke all the time? Remember we used to do that all the time? But we've evolved, and it's good because we have other things to share. But sometimes you're like, oh, man, what happened? And so we start realizing more and more that sometimes it was due to our communication dwindling in some areas. And some of that is largely due to the fact that we have to be parents, So that throws that wrench in there where, I put off going to the doctor for probably 2 years before I knew it. And I was like, well, Ashton and Zoe are taken care of. They went to the doctor and the dentist, never miss an appointment, but I'm not taking care of my own health, and the same for him. And now we're sitting here like, oh, man, we took care of the kids. We did everything we're supposed to do. We're being the parents that we feel like we should be. But we're not making enough room for our relationship in some regards. And we may see it as, okay, we're healthy. We're not arguing. We really don't argue much at all. We're not arguing. We're not doing this. And, people think it's okay, cool. But is it really okay? Or is it just that you're kind of coasting and you're just rolling with the punches? And you're not taking time to sit down and eat dinner together or sit down and turn the TV off and have a conversation and look at each other in the eyes. So important.
How do you make that time for each other since you are very busy? You both are working, and with a lot of couples, they try to have like a date night, or they try to have some time for each other during the course of the week or even the course of the day. How do y'all manage to get that time in?
We do love movies. So Stephen is a big movie buff. And so he's helped me watch some of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. But we made fun of it together. So it's so funny because, and I know you can speak to it too, babe, when we're like, all right, we're going to watch this movie. And we do this thing where we say, all right, we're going to give it the first 10 or 15 minutes. And if it's not hitting, we're going to turn it off. But then sometimes we get roped into these crazy, silly, stupid movies. And we're like, before we know it, we're like, hey, we're 30 minutes in. We might as well commit to making fun of it. And we just laugh and laugh and laugh. And it's just mindless, And sometimes we just have to have mindless fun. And we determine we're always going to find time to have mindless fun, whether we're at home for our date night and the kids are upstairs laying down and we're just doing that, or whether we're dropping them off with their yaya and we have a time where we can go to the movie theater or go for ice cream or, whatever is, whatever we're going to do in that moment.
I think the
Right.
important thing is to set. I think the important thing is to set realistic goals. Because if you set an unrealistic goal for a date night or for intimacy, if you set that unrealistic goal, then what's going to happen is then if it doesn't go through, then you're just going to get frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can say, okay, this is out of all the times that I have to work, this is what we have time to do. Or this is like this is our free time. So what can we realistically do in this moment of time? Because obviously, you know, when we just got married, everything's like fresh. You don't really know anybody. Yeah, you don't really know each other in that way like that.
We literally didn't know.
Yeah,
we literally didn't know each other. We say that meaning we were together for almost a year and a half, and we never kissed. We never had any sexual, so that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That it was rough, but we truly didn't know each other. But I always say to this day, I'm glad that we made the decision because it helped us it helped push us in the route of, okay, what other ways can we know each other? And I think it made us the closest of friends, and which thus trickled into, okay, we can communicate. That's not a problem. We have to talk because we're not doing the other stuff.
Right.
So, and so I'm gonna let you continue though. Just going on that, but I just wanted to point that out because that's a big deal, and it's a huge part of our story for where we're at now. But yeah, I agree with everything that he's saying. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, like, early on, you have all this time to do anything. I think when we first got married, we're just like going out to eat just about every single weekend. Had no problem staying up. Had no problems watching it. We watch movies now, but back then we had no problems watching movies back to back. It was that sort of thing where it's like we had so much time on our hands. Then when we had Ashton, that changed everything because then we started more so getting into TV shows as a result, because obviously with Sierra healing, she had to watch TV shows.
I binge watch Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, so like, we had to change the way what we saw as fun. And of course, in the very beginning, you're kind of frustrated because you want things to be the way they were. But the reality is, like, I'll never forget this like saying that the only real tradition is change. And we're so fearful of like change, but that's like the one thing that we can always count on, that things are always going to change no matter what. So you have to kind of learn, either I'm going to try to stay in the past or I'm going to try to deal with what's going on in the present. And at the present moment, you have 2 little kids. Are you realistically going to go on a long trip to Myrtle Beach? Or, are you really going to go on a long trip out of the country? So you just, again, set those realistic goals. If the time comes open where you have the time and you have the money to be able to go someplace, then take advantage of it. Do everything that's possible. Get all your ducks in a row. But if it doesn't go that way, just plan accordingly. Don't set yourself unrealistic goals and then give yourself realistic frustrations on later.
Yeah.
Right. And that is something really to think about. That's good. Y'all sound really wise for y'all young marriage.
Oh yeah,
that is probably.
You said how old you were. I shared how old I was. Did you say how old you were, old man?
Uh-huh. I'm young.
He's opting not to because after you turn 30, you can't remember how old you are. So that's what he's trying to play off right now. He's over 30, so he's lost track. He's still young at heart, though.
Oh my goodness, y'all are too much. But it's awesome to see you guys come together and the way that, like you said, the way that y'all have worked together and y'all doing stuff. I applaud you because I see some things firsthand, and I was like, look at how they're doing this. They're working this out. They're doing what they need to do. And I'm excited because I see the work that you're putting in, and it pays off because y'all go and y'all make time for each other. You make time for your kids and everything, and that is really important. And I see with the lines of communication being open and everything, that's awesome. Um, One other thing I wanted to ask, well, some other things I do want to ask you before we end this particular show, but how do you make time for like even intimacy? That all changes when you have children. Because a lot of people I know will say, you know what, well, everything was good until after we had the kids, and then they don't want to be with me, or they're not with me, or I can't. They're always talking about, oh, the kids, the kids, the kids. So people argue about being intimate with each other when they have children, and then things start going downhill for a lot of people. How do you keep things fresh, and how do you work in your time even though you have two children?
We lock the doors. No. Lock the doors. We lock the doors. Y'all can't take me anywhere. So, that is actually true. We do lock the doors because it's funny growing up. Grew up with shout out to my mom, Sharon. I grew up with a strong, wonderful, beautiful single woman, single mother. And
yeah.
we had a very strong bond growing up, and still do to this day. She's one of my best friends. And so I was used to just going in her room. I slept in her bed, all these other things. That was my experience. JR was different, where it was like, nope, you don't go in the bedroom. This is, him and his siblings, it was like, no, there's a line drawn. And so
right.
I started learning. I'm like, okay, I respect that, and I started seeing it more, even though that's what I was used to, and growing up doesn't mean that that's how I had to do it. And it's just a different situation. And so you just modify and adjust. You take what you see, from your parents or whoever raises you, and you say, okay, I'll take this, I'll take this element, just like I listen to motivational quotes. Okay, I'll take this nugget out of it. I'll take that nugget out of it. So I take that same approach. We take that same approach with, just different ways that we were raised, and like, okay, I will keep this. I think this will apply well for our family situation. And so as time went on, and even more recently, Stephen was like, I'm just telling you, babe, I have to get used to it, because the kids will kind of hang around in the room. Our room is pretty big, so they kind of hang around the room every now and then. I had my yoga mat out for my stretches and my exercises, so they would do that. And he was just like, I'm just not used to it, So, but we had that communication. We discussed it, and I started seeing things. I started truly listening, not just hearing. I started seeing it from his perspective. And when I really took a step back, I was like, okay, the kids are usually playing in the living room, so we cut that out. I was like, they kind of kids have a tendency to just start slowly doing like this alien kid invasion of almost every room in your house if you let them.
Yes.
And so for the intimacy part, I was like, you know what, babe, I see it now. I can see it with more clear eyes, and we need a space for ourselves. This needs to be our sacred place. If we can't retreat anywhere else, we should always be able to retreat here and have our intimate moments, whether it's deep conversation or if it's sexually related or whatever. We have the kids, we draw that line, and they understand that boundary, because boundaries have to be set. You just have to determine as a couple, what is my line? What's too far? What's not too far? And then you come together and say, hey, is this okay with you? Do you feel comfortable with this? And you just have to do it together in unity. That way, I can always know that no matter what, it doesn't matter whether I'm in here, whether I'm home or whether Stephen's home, our message is going to be the same with the kids, that nope, this is our room. You guys can go play in these designated areas, but this is me and Daddy's sacred place. This is, this is not for playing. This is not for particular things. This is our sacred place. And they understand. Children are wildly capable of understanding. Sometimes we underestimate them, but they know.
They do. You had something to say?
I think Stephen did, yeah.
Oh no, the only thing I was going to say was going back to what I said previously, that you have to communicate and then set realistic goals even for intimacy, and that just means having real conversation instead of. So I know that like when it comes down to sex, it can be a very embarrassing topic, especially when people are trying to communicate their desires about things. Even with people that we see on a day-to-day basis, that we're in the same bed, but then it can be kind of nerve-wracking to bring those things up. But I think that you have to communicate exactly how you feel, or exactly what you want, or exactly what you're desiring, because then if you don't, or you feel like the other person should automatically know what you want, then you're setting yourself up to be frustrated later. Because I mean, realistically, everybody has busy lives, so we're oftentimes not thinking about what the other persons want because we're just, quite frankly, tired. But that's not the other person's fault. Sometimes that has to take time to discuss. Hey, this is what I'm thinking. Right. And also with those changes comes the fact that, oh, yeah, just because we did that 10 years ago, or we were doing, things like this 5 years ago, doesn't mean that we're the same type of individual now.
Yep, your desires change, but you have to be explicit. Yeah, you have to be
communicate openly and be like, hey, look, I don't like this type thing anymore. Like almost like, hey, early on when you were nibbling on my ear, that was okay, but like now I don't feel the same way anymore. But you have to have that type of conversation and be truthful with one another, and realize that sometimes it is going to get ugly, and this not ugly in the sense of everybody's yelling at each other, but you might feel a little embarrassed and be like, oh, because you're trying to adjust to changes, and changes feel bad at the time when you're going through it, but then 20 years later, then you're glad that you went through it. So it's just the fact that you have to roll up your sleeves and you have to go through with it.
And that is true. And man, our time is up. We're gonna have to come back because we're gonna have to talk about there may be a part 2 to this show, guys, because I'm talking to them, and then I got all these different questions that are coming up like in my head right now that I want to ask, but I'm not going to go there right now because we are our time is winding down. So what I want to do right now is I want to ask you, as a couple, do you have like advice for a couple that maybe they're engaged right now and they're getting ready to get married, or somebody who has just stepped into marriage? What is a nugget or something that you could give to them that you think may help them even in their marriage? Some good wisdom, some good advice that you would give to a young couple just starting out.
To the young couple, since I'm so old and wise, I would say, I mean, it feels like I've been with this man for eternity, because when you meet somebody that you're so connected with, it just feels like we've been together forever because we're meant to be. So to younger couples, and or even just couples who may have gotten engaged later on in life, because you learn as you go along that you might be 50, 60 something, and this might be your first marriage, or whatever, and you just don't have the know-how, and it's very new. So I would just say that don't be afraid to hurt their feelings in a way. Be as soft as you can, but really be truthful as well, because if you don't nip it at certain things in the bud early and start seeing habits early and addressing them, and not just seeing them, but addressing them early, like, hey, it could just be easy as like, hey, I noticed that when somebody does this, or when this happens, I notice your reaction is this way. So there's definitely tactful ways and approaches that you can take to address things, but then it helps them reflect on it because they may not necessarily notice it. And if they do, it's kind of like, oh man, he or she noticed this too. Okay. And it might help them, reflect more. But at the end of the day, you can at least say, hey, we talked about it, we discussed it. And if you go on to say, hey, despite all of that, I still want to marry this person, then that means I feel like you should, from that point forward, it helps it make it a little bit easier. It's still going to be rough, but a little bit easier to be transparent in your relationship. So when things come up, you can say, hey, I already knew this from the beginning. Go ahead.
Mine would be determined about seeking resolution. So whatever issues you have, don't try to put it off. If it can be resolved right then and there, do whatever you can to resolve it right then and there. Don't put anything off. Mm-hmm. Be determined about, if this is the problem, let's figure this out. Let's not kick it down the road, because if we keep kicking it down the road, we're going to be dealing with this 10 years later or 20 years later, or we'll take this to our graves, but then matters have never been resolved. And then as a result, people have been hurt, or certain situations lacked, all because of the fact that we weren't honest. We weren't trying to resolve issues. We were just trying to, in the name of quote unquote keeping the peace, we're not really dealing with the hard issues or the skeletons in our closet. So just be determined about seeking a resolution to any situation that arises.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really, really thank you for being on the show tonight. You all have shared a lot, and I hope my listeners out there that you have taken away a lot from tonight's show. It has been awesome to talk to my son and my daughter. They are awesome. I love them both. I love their unity. I love their marriage and how they're working together. I am going to have them come back because I want to go into some more conversations with this couple, because it's awesome to hear. And when they talked about different things, it was sparking so many different things in my mind of what I wanted to talk about some more. So we're going to have them come back. But if you're a couple out there and you would like to be a part of Couple Conversations, this segment on Whole and Beautiful, just send me an email at wholebeautiful@gmail.com, and we will get you on the show, and we will continue our couple conversations. Guys, if you have topics that you want to bring to the table for couple conversations, let me know, and we will bring those topics to the table, and we'll bring our couples on, and we will ask them those questions. But I thank you for joining me tonight. Sit down and relax this weekend, and have some fun with your spouse. Have some fun with your partner this weekend. Enjoy each other. It is Valentine's Day this weekend, so make sure that you're enjoying each other. On Saturday, the show will replay at 4 p.m., and I pray that you will invite everyone in, and they will sit and they will listen and just have a great and prosperous and productive weekend. Sierra and JR, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I enjoyed y'all so much.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to talking to you all again. So I'm going to have y'all come back, and we're going to have a forum with Couple Conversations. This may be something that may be going on a lot. We're going to do this show continuously, but I may have my couple, JR and Sierra, come back and answer some of you all questions about couples and different things. But y'all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining. I am Angela D. Oliphant, allowing you to see, hear, and know that Whole and Beautiful is not just your destination, guys. It is most definitely your journey. Have a great night.